second. Let's do the intro and then we start from there.
Got
So it's Alan.
Alan.
Nice to meet you. I'm very happy that you are here. Like yesterday, I have a guest, and I was like very surprised. It was the first woman here, and I'm very proud. Every people come because they don't know me and they take action. They want to promote themselves. They want to get this interview. So I'm very proud just for come and have a chance. I never do it. Like go to a podcast to a person that I don't know. So you are more brave than me. So I need to know who are you, where you from. Restart from there. Where you from? You was telling me.
So I was actually, so I'm from Slidell.
Are you born here?
I was not born here, but I call Slidell home because I've spent the most amount of time here in my life.
Okay.
So I was actually born in Delaware, lived there for 2 years.
So Delaware, that's in the East Coast, right?
Yep, Northeast.
Okay.
I lived there for 2 years. Then because my dad is bilingual and he worked for a company called DuPont. He was transferred to Tampico, Mexico. So I lived in Mexico for 3 years.
So you speak Spanish a little bit?
So I understand it. When I was learning to really speak, I actually learned English and Spanish. Whenever we moved back to the U.S. when I was 5, I ended up not really speaking it a whole lot. But what I did find is I still understood a good bit, and I could pick up. I wasn't good at I didn't practice.
Yeah.
Just like anything in life, if you don't practice it, you won't get better at it. And we didn't really practice. My parents didn't make me speak it around the house. So
They speak Spanish
yes,
in a daily basis?
not on a daily. Well, my mom does on a daily basis.
Why? Where's she from?
She was born and raised in El Salvador.
Oh, interesting. Make me curious sometimes, or not curious, that's not the word. Like, a lot of people here in United States, they want to speak Spanish. Like, oh, I wish I can speak Spanish. And us, I'm from Puerto Rico. I was telling you that, and we take English class, and we don't speak English, and we don't want to speak English, and it's like a barrier, or maybe mental. Like I don't want to speak English. I'm afraid to speak English because English is so difficult. I don't know. I always have a joke like how you say like son,
The son. Yep.
son, like you are my son.
Yeah.
And song, like sing. It's like the same pronunciation. So it's very intimidating for us as people who speak Spanish, the English. But the Spanish, if we compare, it's more easy.
Oh yeah, no doubt. No, there's no doubt that it is easier.
But because the words are more strong and the English more fluid, is a barrier too for the people who never speak Spanish and they try to do it like late. But if you handle two languages, I think you have like more advantage in the world. For me, because I know English, I have a better reach every time I go another place. People speak English, even that's not the first language.
Yeah.
So Spanish is a barrier because very low people, not low people, very small people in the world, like they dominate Spanish like the second language. So how do you deal with the transition of Mexico and then come back to the US?
So we lived. Yeah, I lived there. Like I said, we moved when I was 5.
Yeah.
And then so then I went to all the public schools, all the schools here in Slidell that led up to North Shore High School. So I went to, I was one of the first ever classes at Cypress Cove, which is where my daughter's at now. So it's very full circle moment. And so yeah, it wasn't a huge adjustment for me. And that's why I call Slidell home, because this is, when I think back to some of my earliest memories, I do remember very small bits and pieces of living in Mexico.
Oh,
But
okay.
but the majority of my really special memories come from being here in Slidell.
So when you was at young age, I don't know, how was you was growing here, right? So what it was in high school, what the people gonna do and what you gonna do, like, because I know in my era, people some grow in a mindset of doing these things, but I don't know from here, what was the mindset from the people when they graduate? What they want to do, and what you want to do?
Well, yeah, I was gonna say I can't speak for other people,
I
but
know.
I can speak for definitely for myself. Is growing up, I swore up until my sophomore year, maybe my junior year of high school, that I was gonna do. Actually, it was my senior year. I swore that I was gonna be in business because
But you don't know what business
didn't
in that
know what
moment.
business. Didn't know what business. I just assumed that I was gonna be in business.
And
My
you coming from business perspective, your father is a business person. Any
No,
family member is a
none.
business person.
No, nobody in my family is. My family is dominated with accountants and engineers,
Okay.
and the math gene skipped me.
Yeah.
I was not good at math.
No.
Math is not my thing.
No.
No, I understand financial math, I understand basic math, but I don't.
No engineer
Algebra,
math.
geometry, struggles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big time struggles.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I ended up, and then I went to senior day at Southeastern, and I was introduced to a field called kinesiology, and they said, and they explained what kinesiology was, the study of human movement. And then they showed like, hey, this is where PE majors begin. This is where coaching is. This is where athletic training is. This is where some occupational or physical therapists start
Yeah.
in the field. And I said, that is actually what I want to do, because everything right there just finally made sense.
How old was you when you
I
do
was
that click?
Senior in high school.
17.
Yeah, so 18.
So you coming from an athletic background? You was doing sports?
Yeah, I grew up playing sports.
What kind of sports?
So the first thing that I did was karate. I did karate. Shout out to Mr. Elliott Slaughter, who was
Here
he
in
was
Slidell
he was
too?
here in Slidell for a long, long time. Helped with a lot of kids here in the area do martial arts and taekwondo. And then I got into baseball. And then, of course, in the neighborhood kids, I had a wonderful street. I had a wonderful street of friends, all within three years of my age, whether it's a couple years younger, a couple years older, and we played all the time outside. The classic till the street lights come on. And so activity was a thing for me growing up. It was a big time thing for me growing up. And but organizationally, it was martial arts or taekwondo. Then it became baseball. And from the age of baseball through high school, I played.
So you compete in high school in baseball, but no karate.
No. I stopped doing karate at around 9. At around 9. So yeah, I did it early. I did it very early on. So that's where I could say my first sport. Like I did karate competitions. Or I did when I was younger.
Outside the state and everything, or just state?
I may have gone outside the state a couple of times, but I for sure was in the state, whether it was demonstrating like your technique or sparring. So
And what about baseball? You go out of state or you compete only state?
yeah, we definitely are. When I was younger, we went, actually, even in high school, we went out of state a few times. So yeah, we did a good bit of traveling. It's not like the youth sports now where they're all about trying to travel. I don't want to say all over the U.S. because I know not every team does that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
There's a lot of teams that they travel much further than we ever did.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I'm asking. So, and then you never decide to go pro in baseball, like go to college on baseball, continue that.
I had a one small opportunity to go play at the next level, but in my head, I'd kind of
Business person.
if it wasn't local, I wasn't gonna do it, or if it wasn't a nearby opportunity, and even by that time that ship has sailed, I had already decided, I'm gonna study kinesiology, I'm gonna study athletic training in college, and so all of that stuff, like
So
once it was done,
So you
it
was
was
in
done.
an event, like they teach you what is that you do now. So you was in an event like by coincidence, and then you decide to go in that industry.
So it's when
You was in high school.
when I was in high school, I went to what's called senior day.
Senior day. Yeah.
It was called senior day for high school seniors
So you
at
can
Southeastern,
know
and then what they do is they basically say, here's all the different majors
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that you can do. And then whenever I saw kinesiology, I said, that right there clicks for me. That makes sense. So then that's where I said I wanted to go.
And you start from there.
And I started
Your
from,
first year of college, it was in that expertise.
yeah, it was well, I mean, you take all your entry level classes, but yeah, I signed up for the major fitness and human performance, which is mostly what people would do to become a
Personal trainer.
yeah, either a personal trainer, a college strength and conditioning coach, professional strength and conditioning coach, and some people end up going into some sort of different medical fields. Sometimes you might have to take an extra class or two, but some people use that as a route to get into doing that. And what ended up, I changed my major to athletic training.
In the middle.
No, it was right after my first year, and I actually wanted to do athletic training, which is, the name can be a little misleading, but it's actually the study of sports medicine. So you're in charge of evaluating orthopedic injuries, diagnosing injuries, coordinating healthcare, and basically, if you ever watch football games or soccer games or anything like that, where you see people that come onto the field and evaluate, that's what an athletic trainer is. And oftentimes people only see them providing hydration services and things like that. What ends up happening is behind the scenes, they actually do the rehab. They coordinate the doctor's visits. They communicate with the younger athletes. They communicate with mom and dad about what do they suspect the injury is, and what do they recommend the next route is. So I studied athletic training. That's what I wanted to do. I got bad information at orientation, and that deterred me from doing that major. So I went and talked to the department of athletic training in college, and I said, this is what I was told. I was told you have to have a 4.0 to get in the program. Is that true? Because I'm not a 4.0 student. I'm a decent student, but I'm not a 4.0 student. And they said, no, that's incorrect. You have to have above a 2.5 GPA, but we don't recommend sitting there because, as the classes grow and it's competitive to get into the program. I said, no, absolutely. And so that's the major that I stuck with. And that's actually what I originally wanted to do. It's just, again, when I went for my orientation to sign up for my classes, I got very scared off. Yeah. I got very scared off very quickly because, again, I'm realistic. I'm not a 4.0 student. I wasn't.
So when you start that goal, what do you do for a living? Like you start work, what do you do?
So after I graduated,
no, before after high school, you start the college. Where you was working?
Okay, so while I was actually, it all started in high school. I actually umpired baseball for 10 years.
Oh, so you still in the baseball area? Mm-hmm. Okay.
So umpired baseball. I was introduced to umpiring my freshman year of high school, and I actually umpired until 2 years. 2 years after graduating college. So it was about 10 years. I did 5 to 6 years of rec league umpiring. So at the local SBBA, the local park here. And then during my 5th year, I was picked up and introduced to somebody that does travel baseball, and they needed dependable people to go umpire baseball games on the weekends. And I ended up, so that's the work that I did when I was in college. But whoa. I did have friends who didn't work at all in college.
Wow, that was amazing. But that's not a daily basis job. That was temporary jobs.
Yeah, that was on the weekends. So on the weekends between the months of March and about July, every now and again there was some fall ball. But normally that was a lot less intense. It's certainly it's a lot higher scale now than it was 10, 15 years ago. So
how many years you study?
So I studied in college my degree was 4 years, but I was in college for 5 years. Okay. I redshirted.
Yeah.
Just joking.
And then you start after graduate, you want to study another thing, or you just stop there?
So I had an opportunity to get a master's degree. I applied to be a graduate school. So a popular thing to do at the time when I was in college Certainly, it's changed a little bit now. But when I was in college, the popular thing to do if you got a degree in athletic training is to get a graduate assistant position to be a graduate assistant athletic trainer at a college or through a college to help a high school. So basically, you would be working with other certified athletic trainers, sports medicine professionals, and they could be your mentor as you get your master's degree. I applied for 3 schools. I applied for 3 schools, and what's funny is I didn't get an interview at 2 of them. I got an interview at 1 of them, and I didn't get the job. The one I was the 3rd. So all my athletes all have heard this story, especially when they hear the University of South Alabama. So one of the places I wanted to be a graduate assistant athletic trainer was South Alabama because the master's degree they had was a master's of sports performance. They had a graduate study program for that.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to study when I was going to get my master's degree. They had it. Well, I got a phone call, and it was from Mobile, which is where South Alabama is, and I got excited, and it turns out it was the University of Mobile.
Oh.
So she said, "Hi, Alan. This is Dr. Melissa. We'd like for you to come in for an interview." And I said, "This isn't South Alabama?" "No, this is University of Mobile. I got your number from I blanked the person's name, but the person that I applied with over there." And I said, I guess I didn't get that job. And so and turns out I looked at my email later on that day, and it said, "Sorry, Alan, you were going to be the next person that we brought. We had 100 candidates. You were number 3 on the list, but the first 2 took the job."
Wow.
For South Alabama. So
boom.
So then the University of Mobile asked me to come in for an interview. I went in, so I got over that real quickly. Went in for my interview at at University of Mobile.
Yeah.
I liked everything that they had there, small Christian school, and they ended up only having 2 or 3 master's programs. And I was like,
No work for you.
It isn't what I envisioned. Now, luckily, during that time, because I'd already done my research and I was, reaching out to other things, there's a high school in Gonzales, Louisiana, Ascension Christian. They wanted me to come in and be a sports medicine teacher, athletic trainer, and help coach baseball. And they also
3 positions in one job.
Well, if you ask
Wow.
ask any teacher, any coach, that's pretty much the norm.
That's
They
normal?
all have to do normal. They all have to do. Very rarely do people only show up to school and teach.
Oh,
There's
okay.
they're either involved in clubs, some sort of extracurriculars, because that's what boosts the morale at the school, and that's what keeps the schools moving forward. And that's what keeps the schools growing and the students interested, which is ultimately why they all get into
So you
what they're
take that
into.
one?
So I ended up taking that job.
So you moved there or you
So
drive there?
I moved to
Gonzales.
Louisiana.
So that's after Baton Rouge or before
Yeah,
Baton
yeah.
Rouge?
So if you're looking at Baton Rouge, it's pretty much like southwest of it.
Yeah. So you need to pass Baton Rouge and then go south, right? Or before?
Yeah, well, you could turn. You don't have to technically pass Baton Rouge to
okay.
get there. You could get there without going through Baton Rouge.
Okay,
but yeah.
okay, perfect. So you moved there.
So I moved
new
over
life?
there. So it was a whole new life. I didn't know. I only knew one person in Gonzales, Louisiana. I had one friend at the time that was living in Gonzales, Louisiana, and it was somebody that I'd met in college, and he ended up being a good friend of mine. Actually, stood in my wedding, and then we ended up, and then of course the other people that I knew were the people that I interviewed over there, and so that was my first position. And while I was there, which is where everything kind of transitions to where I'm at now,
Okay.
what I noticed, there was nobody nobody there had really like a plan for the weight room.
Okay.
And so several coaches said, "Hey, do you mind like putting something very basic together to help our athletes get quicker, to help them get faster. Um, how do we do some of this? And so I put some plans in place. And what I did is I found myself running their volleyball strength and conditioning program. I would help the football coach like put together a plan for, hey, this is how I think. He gave me some plans of what he had, and I said,
Yeah.
look, your kids don't know how to do these lifts yet, so they don't need to do those. Start off with the fundamentals first, and then that's how the program grew from there.
So, when was this?
This was 2012, 2013, and 14.
Oh, okay, okay. So, do you know? So, do you notice if we come back to that time and now how all changed? All the movement, all the fundamentals that maybe in that moment it was fundamental. Now is like another one 10 years later.
Yep. So
You fix it a little bit.
So what I found is that I really enjoyed, and prior to that, I had dabbled in personal training. There was like a couple of kids who I worked with when I was in college.
Okay.
Not like for long periods
Yeah.
of time, but like during Christmas break, things like that. I worked at the rec center a little bit in college. Again, it wasn't long, but I did work there for a little bit. We talked about the umpiring a lot, but I forgot to mention that I did do a little bit of that too.
Okay.
And so what I found, like looking at it now, I train athletes to help them run faster, more technically sound, improve their strength, improve their durability, injury resilience, all of these types of things. And I was really introduced to that on a team scale, on a bigger scale like that, as far as the strength and conditioning side, when I was at that high school, Ascension Christian, because all my experience prior to that was on the medical side, only taking care of the athletes that were already
okay,
injured.
okay. Oh,
and
okay,
so
okay.
when I was in college doing
Like physical therapy.
Similar.
Yeah,
It's
similar.
not the same. They call it more athletic medicine.
Okay.
But yeah, it's very similar.
So what is the difference?
The big difference is,
Certifications?
yeah.
Or what?
Yep. So in a physical therapy school, you have to get your undergrad,
Yeah.
and then you have to go to physical therapy school,
Okay.
which is now a doctorate program. Being an athletic trainer, you get an undergraduate degree, so you don't have a doctorate. I think as of 2022, you have to get a master's degree in it.
Okay.
But now when I was in college, you had to get it was just a 4-year degree, but it was 5 semesters of internship that you had to do under certified athletic trainers.
So in you was loving what you was doing, right?
Oh,
And
no
you was
doubt.
learning a lot. But what sport do you think you catch up better? What athletic sport do you think do you find yourself? Like football players, baseball player, tennis player?
So when I was providing healthcare, I would always make it a point to go let every team know that I was available to them and that I was going to help them. It didn't matter if it was the golf team. It didn't matter if it was the dance team. It didn't matter if it was the football team, softball team. I wanted everybody to know and the coaches to know, because whenever people think of getting all the care, the resources, and all that, most oftentimes they think, oh, it's football. Football gets all the resources. And I made it a point to always let people know I'm not just here for football. I'm here for every sport on campus. I want every athlete to get the health care that they need and the services that they need.
So do you don't have a personal preference?
So when I was taking care of athletes, now as far I guess I could say I enjoyed watching the athletes compete. Didn't have like a personal sport favorite. I enjoyed watching softball and volleyball from the standpoint that it was a fast-paced sport.
Oh, okay.
Even though I grew up playing baseball and I loved baseball growing up, baseball is a slower moving sport. Even football can be a slower moving sport. As exciting as it can be a slower moving sport. So I was a fan of like fast pace. So like boys basketball was also had a reputation of being more of a fast and up tempo. So that's another thing that I enjoyed watching too. Like I said, I was at all the events, but
Yeah.
But
So what you was telling me out of camera, what separate your job, right, to a personal trainer, regular personal trainer, can you tell me what exactly are the difference between you and a personal trainer? What a personal can provide me and what you can provide me?
So when I was so because of my sports medicine background,
Yeah.
I'm actually trained to evaluate. Uh, I was trained to evaluate injuries, evaluate body parts like knee. If somebody is suspected of having like a knee issue, an ankle issue, I can do an orthopedic assessment on them, and I can tell them what I think is wrong. Whenever you study to be a personal trainer, you're not trained to do that. You're trained to put together like meal plans, nutrition plans, um, how to help people lose weight, how to help people build strength, which which is what the day to day of what most personal trainers look like. Creating programs for people to thrive in their exercise or their personal goals. Whereas the sports medicine background gives me a whole different perspective. I had to learn all my anatomy, top to bottom. Had to learn how to evaluate again orthopedically and how to rehab these injuries. Whenever people came to me with certain injuries, my job was to help rehab them, or if it was beyond what I could do in my small clinic, it was send it to a physical therapist or work in junction with a physical therapist to execute the plan that's going to help the athlete get back to sport the fastest and keep them healthy. And so that's where a lot of what I do today was originated, and that's the big difference is that I grew up, or like I grew up, I'm trained to spot injuries, rehab the injuries, and then help these athletes get back and stay on the field, whether it's the track, the basketball court, the field, soccer, whatever sport it may be.
Yeah, can you give me an example in that journey? 10 years ago, you was in that journey. Any injury of any of your athletes that you always remember the transition of the injury, the recovery, and then come back and fly away again? That you remember some of the story?
Oh yeah, well I can get yeah I can. Oh, now you're making me go down some serious rabbit holes because I can tell you the first ever time I saw a torn ACL. I can tell you the first ever
What is
time.
that?
So the ACL is it's called the anterior cruciate ligament, and it's one of the main ligaments in the knee that provides stability. That's through ligaments.
Okay.
And it's also the one that takes the longest to recover from if it's torn.
Wow.
So therefore, it is reported often by whenever the media gets a hold of like a pro athlete or a high level college athlete having a torn ACL. It's breaking news to be the first one to find that out because that's the injury in the knee that takes the longest to come back from.
Wow.
So I can tell you the first time I ever saw a torn ACL. I can tell you the first time I ever saw a student get knocked out and had to spine board them. So like I hold the neck and I'll get the other coaches in place to and call EMS to have them loaded up on the van and carried to the hospital and make sure there's no like spinal injury.
Oh.
And
So you have
watching them
any
all.
emergency situations?
Yep.
So you were saying sorry?
No, I was saying that yes, we have those were some big ones. Those were some like as far as I got to see all those athletes go back and play their sport again. So those
Yes.
were
Oh.
I got to see all of them go back and play their sport again. And again, that's just at my first school because I'm thinking back, over 10 years ago at this point. But I can tell you athletes who've persevered at every single school that I've ever worked at.
So you was telling me you have a daughter?
Yes, I have a daughter and I have a son.
Oh, you have two?
I have two.
So how that changed in your development as a person?
It was
We got to that moment.
Yeah. So it was a huge change into who I am. It's
They born in Gonzales or they born in Slidell?
they're all born here. They're all
Okay,
born here.
okay.
So we moved. My wife and I moved back here in 2017
So you know your wife from here or from Gonzales?
from here.
Okay.
But I met her because of her brother.
Okay.
And so we actually met when we were really, really, really young, but we didn't actually
Connect.
we didn't actually we just knew of each other.
Oh,
But
okay.
we didn't actually like get to really know each other um, until our parents ran into each other, and then I reached out to her.
Okay.
So yeah, it was it was that was whenever we really did. But like we said, we knew each other, but we weren't like friends or anything like that. It was just more like acquaintances. Like we just knew.
Yeah. Oh, I know
were.
that person.
Yep.
I'm familiar with that
Yeah.
face.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And so, I'd talked to her on a very small basis prior to that, just because her brother was a good friend of mine.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so my
Was
kids, my kids were born.
The
here.
brother was a friend of yours, or
Is a
still?
friend. Is a friend. Well, was
Make
at the
that
time.
clear.
Yes.
Make
yes,
that clear.
Yes. My brother-in-law and I are still really good friends.
Very important.
Yes. Thank you. I didn't even realize I said was.
So then you have your goals. Like I know you have your goals very sharp. You are very into that job that you have. How flip you be a father because you are taking care of a lot of kids.
Mm-hmm.
You are umpire. You take care of kids, and then you are in school. You take care of kids, and now is your chance to have your own kids. So how that?
I never thought of it that way. So I'm glad you brought it up like that. But yeah, it was how I treated kids and how I talked to kids.
Yeah.
Everything about me changed. How I spoke to kids. I had a lot more. Not that I would consider myself, and I don't think most would consider me like a very impatient person. But I found like my patience increased. I did find that sometimes I could be tone deaf. I felt like, and I can still be tone deaf at times, but I did find that I was less tone deaf, or I was less often tone deaf. So I was a little more aware, just again, really of everything, things that may be going on in their
So
life.
it grow like empathy in
Yes,
you.
empathy. Yeah, that's a great word. Mhm.
Wow.
So
What is your plan with your kids? Like, if they don't, I don't know. I'm a father of 1 year old, and I don't have any plans for my kids because he's still a kid.
Mhm.
And how old are yours?
5 and 6.
5
Or
and
excuse
6.
Me, I'm sorry, 5 and 2.
5 and 2.
5 and 2.
Okay, so what I'm telling you is like, do you have, because you have a very sport background, do you want any of them be a sport person?
If they want to be a sport person, great. I want to support them in whatever goals that
Yeah.
they want to do. I would
But you are inclined to the idea?
now. I do think children will follow what their parents' interests are.
Yeah.
Because I own and operate a gym. I think it's very obvious that they already do. They come to the gym and they see me working with athletes. I coach Pope John Paul's powerlifting team. So, they know that I'm around athletes. And so I think naturally they're at some point going to gravitate to sports. But if they don't want to do sports, I want them to do what makes them happy. I want them to do what they're interested in doing. My daughter has actually, she wanted to try soccer. So she did some soccer skills training. Wasn't really her thing at the time. Doesn't mean that won't come back.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, she actually asked me to go play putt-putt the most.
What?
Yep.
What?
Putt-putt. Golf.
Golf?
Yeah.
Okay.
She asked me to go play golf. So mini golf.
Okay.
She asked me to go play that as far as sports go, that's the most frequent thing that she'll ask me to go do. My son, who's 2, and a wrecking ball, he will take a ball, look at you dead in the eye, and throw it at you. And he has a very good throwing mechanics. So I have a feeling that sports are there.
Okay.
Throwing sports are there for him. And then he tackles his sister. So I jokingly tell my wife, I was like, you're raising a football son.
So do you think, I don't know, in your experience, do you think in kids, what is the age that you can see they are developing, like you say, sport mechanics, that you can say, okay, maybe this is a thing? Because another kids, they are not doing, zero interest in sport. So how do you notice the difference in a child of 5 years old, by example? in your experience?
So I think, and this is coming from world-renowned sports psychologists.
Okay.
I want to be very clear. This isn't
Yeah,
from
yeah.
me. So there was and I want to share this because I think this is very important for the people out there.
Yeah.
Especially the parents that believe that they have the next insert high-level athlete name
yeah.
the age of 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
There's a guy from Australia who is in charge of working with the Olympic team, all the Olympic teams. He was their sports psychologist.
Okay.
His job was to go basically spot which young athletes had the mentality that could one day translate to the Olympics. He said, at 8 years old, even if they're the best 8-year-old, there's no way you know if that athlete is even gonna. You don't even know if they'll make it to high school at 8 years old. And so I thought that, and again, this a world-renowned sports psychologist has worked with Australia's Olympic team for years, and that's coming from him. So what I always tell parents, and because
So what come from Alan?
so what I tell the so that's funny. So whenever I talk to parents, I always tell them, look, if they're interested in it and it's from them, it's not pushed from one way or another. If it's a self-driven thing, that's what if they're fueled intrinsically, then you're onto something. Now, if they continue to grow at it and they have it, because it's not just one day you see, now if that one day they continue to grow and you see them continually putting in the work, I like to tell them it's linear. Just because they're the best athlete this year does not mean they're going to be the best athlete next year. Doesn't mean they're going to be the best athlete next year. They might be the best football player this year. They might be the best baseball player next year. Might be the best basketball player the following year. Now, as they continue to work, as they continue to improve, that's where you're going to see, those end results as they get older. You're not going to know at a young age.
So do you recommend don't burn out your kid as a sport player? Let them
Let
be
them
a
play.
kid.
Let them play multiple sports.
Yeah.
Because that builds a base of foundational athleticism, and specialization at a young age has been shown to not get kids as far. So if you decide at 6 years old you're only going to play soccer year round,
That's abusive.
that doesn't guarantee you a professional or even a collegiate or even a high school soccer player.
Yeah, you say a very good point. Like in a how you say psychological level, every individual human being can change in a split second. A trauma, and a traumatic event, a pain, and maybe was a good athlete at 8 years old, but that end in a split second for something happened. So it's a very good standpoint. Like you gonna know or not, like my kid is gonna be like a pro. Some people have the blessing, like Djokovic, start 4 years old, and he's the best tennis player ever. So some people have the blessing, like the kids start and they are very like elite level.
There is no question that some kids are gifted more athletically than others. There is no question about that. But it should be noted that the mindset plays a big role in it too. That's why not always the most talented kid gets the furthest.
Wow.
Because if at some point talent no longer matters. It's about the extra work that you put in. It's the nutrition, it's the sleep, it's the hydration, and it's the consistent, disciplined habits that separate you from the person that could just show up and do well. Whereas those years and years of building blocks of that will, and that mindset will get you further and ultimately get you to where you want to be.
So that's a very interesting point of talking about kids, because some parents push too much their kids, and sometimes they don't want to do it, and that comes, if you don't want to do it, you don't do the athletics in a good way. So that that can, oh my god, that can go to an injury because you're doing the things without the feeling that you want to do it.
Yeah.
So I know, people like I met I was a barber, so they injure themselves because they don't want to play those sports, and they was commit because that was the thing. So all the Saturdays I played this, and it was not love. Like other athletes strive in the sport if they want to commit, because if you want to commit, you're gonna put the, like you say, the condition, the diet, the hours, and that give you the results you want. But sports is a very any sport is a very mental game.
Very much so. Very much
It's
so.
a very mental game, and if we don't see it like that, like you mentioned it like that, people think that sports people are just machine, like they don't develop feelings or they don't develop like injuries, like you say. And we need to get more empathy for the athletes.
No doubt. And you were very much onto something. Is the look? I always tell, and any athlete and any parent that I've ever worked with has heard me say this before. I'm never going to tell somebody how to raise their kid, but if they ask me their opinion on like how to approach best practice for developing, I'm more than happy to give them my input from what I see on my angle. Like if I'll give you an example. Some of the athletes are coming in, and every single night they're saying, I didn't sleep well. I didn't sleep well. And then they say, well, they want to go do extra work. Or, oh, coach, do you think, oh, I'm going to get them on these supplements and all that? I said, no supplement will substitute the lack of sleep. If you're supposed to be getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep a night and you're only getting 5 to 6, that at some point you're losing a day of sleep a week.
Yeah.
And so that's gonna negatively impact you over the long term. So you need to so that needs to get fixed. No supplement can make up for that. No extra training can make up for that. Or you're never you might be able to like cut into some of the middle ground, but you'll never break through the ceiling that you've created for yourself by having a lack of sleep.
So tell me about this place that you're working, Core Performance Academy. This is a place that when this place start.
So Core Performance Academy, we opened in 2022, May of 2022. I'll give you a quick little cool story about this. So October of 2021, I officially went self-employed, or it was late September of 2021.
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Do you say, okay, I'm going all in my life?
Going all in my, yep. Hurricane Ida had just hit. Hurricane Ida had just hit. If I rewind the clock again to 2020, I announced that I was going to start training athletes, no longer just in a school environment. I was going to go train them you have
one-on-one.
hire me, one-on-one group settings, things like that. And it grew to the point in August of 2021 where I was telling people I cannot train you because I have too many. I'm working with too many athletes.
Yes.
Like right now, and I was still working. I was a supervisor of sports medicine for my job, and Hurricane Ida had come, and the day, like right before I was gonna go talk to my bosses about potentially, hey, I'm be leaving, but I said, look, hurricane's coming. I said, I want to inform y'all. So then that way we'll talk afterwards. And they came to me with a package that they thought would let me stay. And I said, sorry, like I've decided I'm gonna bet on myself.
So your dream of business you was telling me that was your dream in high school. It was coming true.
Yep.
For the first time.
And
you was scared a lot.
And so I told them about that, and I think recently it was I'm getting my time frames mixed up a little bit, but
no worries.
if I'm breaking it, if I'm going through and remembering it correctly, there was a job that I was in the running for to be a manager, because I was a supervisor of sports medicine. I applied to be a manager of sports medicine as well.
Yeah.
Well, two people that I was supervising jumped my position and were now supervising me from a managerial role. The day that I found out that I was turned down from a manager position, I got a phone call saying the space that I'm in now, Core Performance Academy, we're at 107 South Military Boulevard. That space was going to get renovated to a sports performance facility, and come let me know how it would, like, how would you design it if you could. And so I went over there. I gave my 2 cents of how I would set it up, and then and I felt like that was a very, like, I'm kind of discouraged and distraught from not getting that full-time job as a or not getting that job as a manager. And then I find out that happens. Called my wife. My wife says, I was like, I'm very excited about that. I think this is God sending us a sign that, I should take the leap to go self-employed. So I talked to some friends. That's when Hurricane Ida was coming soon, about like, hey, finances. My wife is pregnant. We already have a 2-year-old at the time. So it was a big risk. It was a very big risk. And so I went and talked to her and talked to the company, let them know Hurricane Ida comes, we're okay. All the clients that I'm working with say that, no, the hurricane didn't impact. We still want to continue to train with you. And so that's what made me really say, okay, let's do this. And so I put in my 2 weeks, and October 1st of 2021, I went all in on it. May of 2022, we're in our new space of at Core Performance Academy.
So so this place is yours?
Yes. Well, like, the building isn't mine.
I know, but the gym,
the space.
You rent a place.
Yes,
and you come with that name, or the name that was there?
Core Performance Academy. No. I did not come with this name.
Okay.
I did not come with this name. This Core Performance Academy is the name that we
of the brand.
Of the brand. That's correct.
You take the brand.
Yes.
And
so I have a business partner.
Yeah.
And he already had a name, Core Performance Academy, and so we went. He was also the one that did the design, and so he wanted. So he said, "Hey, let's do Core Performance Academy." So I said, "Yes, let's do this." And so that's
Okay, so you start from zero again.
I don't want to say start from zero because all those clients that I was working with came in.
No,
there.
I know, but you start from zero because, like, that's new. You never do that.
Correct. It's a new space.
That's a new space. Right. You as blessed with their clients follow you, but you start from zero. But your clients come to you. But you start from zero in a new place.
Yes.
In a highest position.
I never thought of it like that, but yes, you're correct.
And then that was in 2022?
Yeah, that was May of 2022.
So now you were saying, like, schools come to you to train?
So we
high schools or college? What schools come to you? How they find you? Why they want you?
So
why they need you?
So
why you're so good?
I've been incredibly blessed. So I'm a big relationships person. You know, I believe if you treat people right and do the right thing, when you're honest with people, that good things have a tendency of happening. And as an athletic trainer, when I was caring for athletes, I'd built a lot of great relationships with a lot of coaches, a lot of administrators, a lot of teams, kids, wherever it may be. And so when I went out on my own, some of these coaches called me about, hey, I'd like for you to take on some of my teams. So as far as like which teams do I work with, I work with like Pope John Paul High School. We work with Pope John Paul High School. I'm also their girls powerlifting coach.
Okay.
I've worked with Slidell High volleyball. And before I was working with the whole school, Pope John Paul, we were working with their soccer teams.
Okay.
And I work with Pearl River baseball team.
You go there, or they come to your space?
Last year and this fall, I go to Pearl River once a week.
Okay.
I go to Pearl River once a week. I worked with Pearl River's volleyball and softball team this summer. They came to us. I work with a youth soccer team around here. They come to the gym on Friday nights. They'll be here tonight. Um, Pearl River Central. I work with Pearl River Central at a Carrier, Mississippi. So I'm crossing that state line at a state we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And then I'm currently also working with Slidell High. I meant to say Core Performance Academy. We are working with Slidell High baseball as well.
So do you mention all these places? You don't feel like proud of yourself? Like you take the leap, start from zero. Your clients follow you up. You was scared as shit because you know you was doing something new, and you know business is not easy.
Nope.
And you need to understand like it's a lot of downs, very very few ups, and I hear a lot of schools are working with you, supporting you. So how do you feel about that?
I'm incredibly blessed, and again, I tell the coaches, and you know, we give back to those schools, fundraisers, things like that, and we, you know, just incredibly blessed and much gratitude and thankfulness to them because they're trusting us. They're entrusting us to help with their development of their athletes. They're entrusting us, the coach, to help execute their long term, their vision of what they have for their athletes. They're trusting us to help be a part of that. And I think that's one of the biggest compliments that you can.
So do you think, don't think a name, but be honest with me. Do you think we have a prodigy around here in Slidell that you see?
So I can tell you now and I can already speak on this. There's athletes around here. I mean, look, Braden Joubert was somebody who was from Slidell and was recently drafted by the MLB.
Okay.
We have athletes that are playing high school sports now that are going to get opportunities to play beyond college.
Ooh. You have no doubt?
Yeah, I have no doubt.
Let's do a video with them. Like you have like, you know, wow, my English is very low today. I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize, man.
That is very low. Do you have contact with them? Do you train them or do you help them? I don't
train all of them.
No, I know.
There are certain athletes.
How's your connection with these prodigies?
I mean, just
you go to school.
Well, no, some of them they've just called me. One of them called me because they were injured.
Yeah,
they were injured and they graduated from physical therapy.
That's good.
When they graduate from physical therapy, the physical therapy insurance is the one that I'm really blaming on this. They want you to be a healthy human. Insurance doesn't want you to be a back to where you were athlete. Okay. They only care that you can perform your active daily living tasks.
Okay.
So so that's where I've received several calls. These athletes are injured, and therefore they're at 80%, but they need to be back at 100%. So I bridge that gap back so they can be on the field, not just physically ready, mentally ready too.
So what is your goal, Alan, right now? You are achieve what you're planning to, and you are hungry because you are here talking with me, and I know you are hungry. What is your next step or your next plan?
So we're, a big message that I always, and I try to make sure that I say this as often as I can. We want to make sure that the people that are currently with us and the people that are in the building feel that they're taken care of and that they are getting our maximal attention. Because if you focus on the people inside the building, the people outside the building will come see.
Oh, so you are like...
We really try to make sure to take care of our own.
Take care.
That's what we start. That's what we're starting off with. We do have plans on growth.
Yeah.
But sometimes that growth doesn't take place until there's the right person or the right situation that comes up. Yeah. And because there's ideas that I've been sitting on for 2-3 years, but until I don't want to spread myself too thin. Shout out to Coach Joey Steele, who is our other coach. Coach Brittany is also our other coach over at the gym, and they do a great job at working with some of the. Brittany works with the adult women in the morning, and then Coach Joey is one of our coaches that will go to schools or go to the classes in the evening along with me. So we split that duty.
And do you know I'm a tennis player?
I
You
did
know,
not.
no,
Did
no,
not.
but I not grow playing tennis, but I've been playing tennis for 3 years ago. It's gonna be in October 4 years, I think. Yeah, and I injure my shoulder uh, like very badly because I learn by myself, and I always start with a big serve, but I was doing incorrectly, so I do something in my shoulder,
You hurt your shoulder.
and then I go to orthopedic. I don't know.
Orthopedic surgeon.
Yeah, they put me an injection, and the pain go away. I never go back. So that the pain was so hard, and I love tennis so much, I don't stop. So I continue. So the pain, it was increasing over a month, and I still until the injection I stop after, like I give it a break, and then I never have a pain again. I don't
Oh,
know.
that's good.
I don't know how in that moment, right? But I change my body movement to use half of my body power, not my shoulder when I surf.
So you were probably being more mechanically efficient,
Exactly.
which is good.
So sometimes I surf very hard, and I don't feel like it was like that. It was like very effortless swing. And I'm talking about recreational. I'm not
Yeah.
pro, but I want to be as long I want to play in tennis. I like to compete. I even have like a few how you say, like medals and things.
Oh, awards,
Yeah, awards.
recognitions. Okay.
I love to compete. I want to
Nice.
compete. But in terms of, I want to do it more faster myself, but I'm scared to do it. I'm scared because in the beginning, when I start, I was not really a good server, but I was doing too much arm. And I want to come back to that big serve because, serve is a
That
free
makes a
point.
huge difference.
It's
Yeah.
a free point.
Yeah.
But now I'm not using it as a weapon, and because I'm scared to injure myself. So I don't want to come back to square one after 2 years of recovery that I'm after the injection. So what recommendation you have for me?
So the first thing that I would do is I would evaluate your shoulder. If I'm giving steps of what I would do, I would evaluate your shoulder and I would look at where you have muscular imbalances or if you have some joint instability. From there, it would be, okay, I see that there's weakness here or that this could use some more stability. Or maybe you have some limited range of motion in one place or another. Then it would be about putting together a program. So we want to strengthen what's necessary, not necessarily as strong, loosen up what may be a little bit tight, and watch you grow from there. And then, I think, and then there's plans that you could be doing on your own. So that's where that would be. That's how we handle.
So that is a strategy, maybe.
Oh yeah, that's 100%
Okay.
the strategy and
So
things that we do
Alan,
with
thank you
athletes.
so much to be here. This is very good conversation. If the people want to reach out to you, where they can reach you?
So we're on. We're on social media. We're on Facebook. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. Core
Every
Performance
platform.
Academy. We're on
Amazing.
that one, and we're and then Alan Miller. That's my name. 985-768-8150. And then I feel like I'm pretty easy to find. People either text me or shoot us a message on social media. Most oftentimes Facebook. But whenever I see those messages, I
Boom.
definitely call people back or
Yeah.
message people back and call people back.